Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Freedom Kickstarter podcast. So I've got a guest with me today who I'm really excited to talk to. I have Matt Tickner. So Matt and I have done a fair bit of work together in the past. He's actually someone who I've helped out a bit along the way with his copy journey, and so I'm excited to get into it with him. So yeah, Matt, I'll hand over to you. Do you want to tell people a brief intro for yourself?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Matt. I've been copywriting now for close to 4 years. Saying that's a long time, ever since COVID. So when lockdown happened, previous to that, I was a personal trainer, and obviously lost all my clients. And then I saw Mike popping up on my Facebook feed over and over again.
It's a similar theme. I'm seeming to get into lots of people's Facebook feeds.
So I downloaded, I think he had a free thing, and then there was a really cool upsell into a course, and then boom, I was hooked.
Nice.
And, that's pretty much where it started.
Like it. So talk to us a bit about the early stage of the journey then. So it was COVID, like around that time, had you been looking into copy? Had you done that much stuff around it? Or was this more like, hey, here's this new thing, shit hits the fan with PT business, I need to do something else? Like what was the journey around that?
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, I don't know. It's interesting because it seems to be like a lot of online coaches or people in the fitness background tend to move into copy. I don't know if there's a logical step into that, but it seems to be that way. I enjoyed doing the content more than actually training clients, but I think I had reached a point where I was burning out.
Mm-hmm.
I was working in three gyms, working ridiculous hours, didn't have a mentor, didn't know what I was doing, and then I just needed a way out. And writing words for a living from your laptop and from a coffee shop was just absolutely bliss, considering I love coffee, and a coffee shop, happy days if you can work from there, fantastic.
Yeah, I think you're right. There are a lot of people who do it, and whether that's because it's just like a natural progression and fitness, to do well in fitness, I think you require some form of marketing. Prowess is maybe a strong word, but you need to know marketing a bit. And then I think very much like me, it sounds like you realise that actually PT is good, I do my own thing, I can theoretically pick and choose my hours and when I work, but at the same time, you've got to be in a certain place to train people, right? So is it... Yeah. What was sort of the big draw? Was it the money side of things? Was it the freedom? Like, what was the main thing that got you into doing it?
I think the freedom aspect, because I was on the gym floor a lot, just doing ridiculous hours. Like sometimes you go in the morning, then you have like an afternoon break, then you're back in the evening. You do that 6 days a week. It catches up, and the freedom aspect of just writing copy was pretty cool. And the money, not going to lie, like earning, 350 quid, I think you were saying, for just a couple of hours work. I mean, that's not bad at all, considering that was like 10 clients or something. Whatever. But
so was Freedom Kickstarter course first step then? And this just says, isn't a plug for my course. We will speak to copywriters who've not done my course, but was FKS the first step, or did you dabble in anything else with it?
So I bought a copywriting book from, I have no idea who it was, but it was a blue book.
Right.
It was interesting. And like I said, joined your course, and that was kind of next logical step. It was great. I just needed, I think, I had all the information in front of me. The course was fantastic, the way it was all set up, and it just like, if you were a confident person, I think you could just go and crack on and do it and just make a good living. I just needed an extra push after the course, which is why I went into your mentorship, really.
Yeah, so that would have been, I think you joined in the first wave, didn't you? So it's like April of that 2020. So what happened then over the next sort of year or so? What was the journey in terms of the copy work picking up and the other stuff kind of easing back?
Yeah, not gonna lie. Initially, it's like you get into it and you're like fully excited about, okay, I'm going to pick up a client in the next week, and then it's all dependent on how much work you put in. But then reality kind of sets in. You don't pick up a client in the week, you get a bit deterred, and I think we went back and forth quite a bit, like over the years, like in terms of like my level of confidence when it comes to getting clients. But in the first year, it took me about 3 months to actually leave my job as a PT when I got back into it after COVID. About 3 months to actually leave the gym floor for good, which was nice. So I managed to pick up a couple of retainers. I think it was a ridiculous like $500 or something for like 12 emails, and some projects as well that amounted to enough that I could finally leave the gym floor.
Nice. I think that's a big thing. Like you say, ridiculous amount. I'm assuming you mean it's not that much money.
Yeah.
But then when we look at it, it's like that whole thing of if you're in the early stage of your career, a lot of the time you have to intern for free or for very low. So I think as much as I will always talk about you can earn great money from copy, I'll happily tell people my first gig was an article that I got paid £12.50 for. It's like, and that article probably took me about 2.5 hours to write. It was terrible money, but you're sort of earning your stripes, you're working your way up, that kind of thing. And actually, 3 months is not long at all to get into from where you were to what you wanted to be doing.
Yeah, and like I said, it's all about perspective as well. When I got first learning that gig with that retainer, I was so pumped because I was earning enough per email that I would charge per session for a PT. I was like, I'm doing it in half the time as well, and that was just like bliss. So that kind of gave me like the spurs to continually outreach as well, which I'm a bit of a stubborn person when it comes to that sort of things. But it has paid off, which is a good thing.
It's definitely interesting that you mentioned momentum. I think that's huge for a lot of people in terms of when you feel like you've got a couple of clients, you're doing all right, that outreach is so much easier because you can approach it from the mindset of, I don't need this person. Whereas if you need a client, that's when subconsciously it can get quite difficult. Your tone, like your perspective, all that kind of stuff can change. With that first client, am I right in thinking that was the female fitness influencer type person?
Yeah. That was Angeli. She won't mind me saying it. She was a great client, absolutely awesome. She's crushing it to this day as well. So.
And what sort of stuff did you learn with her? Was there anything there that was a bit of a baptism of fire? Anything you find you still do the same now? How was that initial experience?
I think with her, it was trying to capture her voice because she spoke very differently, like completely, in her own emails as well that she used to send me to try and mimic her tone. So I think that was a bit of a learning curve just to try and almost like copycat someone's voice. You don't want to copycat someone's voice if they're just generally boring people, because then it's a boring email. But yeah, so that took a while to kind of get her voice down, but that took about a couple of months, I think.
Was there anything in particular you did to help nail that?
I think it was just the reps, and looking at her social media as well, and just try initially I was copying her social media posts just to kind of get her tone, her phrases and everything else, and then just kind of slip it into the emails after a while. I think that helped, which is good.
Yeah, I've definitely had that, and it can be a balance between clients say, oh, this doesn't sound like me, and you say, well, no, it doesn't, but normally you sound very boring and generic, versus other times it is very much, I get that, I can see how you use certain words and phrases, so okay, that's feedback taken on board. Okay, so you got that as a retainer, some one-off projects.
Yeah.
What was the process then of winding down your PT stuff while bumping up copy?
I was trying to earn enough that I could leave, that I could cover my bills, my expenses and everything else. And then it was more of taking a punt because, yes, I had this retainer and I also had some projects coming as well, which was nice. And it was like covering all that aspects. But at the same time, I wasn't sure what would happen in the next few months. So I was like, I'm committing a lot of hours on the gym floor as it is. If I just, because I was at the gym desk on the reception, just on my phone, just writing out like a script for a client that was just like coming in. I'd get told off by the manager. He wasn't too happy, and I was like, sorry. I'd be like in the cleaning cupboard as well, just like writing emails because I just didn't want to be there anymore. And so I just thought, you know what, screw it. Let's just hand my notice in and give it a good go and give it everything I got. And happy days.
So with the gym stuff, were you employed as well as doing freelance stuff? What was the situation?
Yeah, so I was employed and I was doing freelance stuff as well. So I was with BH Live and I was working in both their gyms, and I was also with Gym Group as well. And that was more the freelancing side of things. But just going between those three gyms was just a bit of a headache. I should have just committed to the one gym. Yeah,
I mean, I know myself, it's not quite the same, but when I was getting out of training people, it was a mixture of training people in person still, doing kind of 15, 20 sessions a week. Yeah. There was the whole sort of online stuff, doing things with clients with that, but then also writing copy. So it can definitely be very difficult to juggle stuff.
100%.
Was there anything you found helped with that? Like for me, that was why I started working in coffee shops, because I found that separating myself in terms of the environment, but also even just I change out my PT top and put a polo shirt on instead. That kind of thing helped separate it. Was there anything similar for you, or was it just I just need to write, so I'm going to write wherever, whenever, and just get it done?
Yeah, I'm more than happy writing my PJs, man. Just like my jogging bottoms, it's completely fine. Pair of Crocs. I don't know if you're a Croc fan, but that is.
I have never worn a pair of Crocs, I'm afraid.
You need to get on it. It took me 3 years to get a pair of Crocs, and they're worth it, man.
Okay.
100%. But yeah, I could anything. But coffee. Something about a coffee shop. It's just the vibe. that you just kind of like focus in. I can't work too well from home. I have to go somewhere else. And I think it's the environment.
Yeah, I'm the same. I get why people say there's distractions in the coffee shop, but I find there's more distractions at home because I can get up and do the washing up, I can do some sort of chore, I can get my lunch ready. I'll be sitting at home at midday and I'm like, oh, I feel really hungry, I could get some food. When actually, if I was out, I wouldn't even be thinking about that. I get home at 1:30 and go, oh, okay, it's probably time for lunch.
And you procrastinate like hell as well.
Yeah.
It's just like so easily done as well. It's just, it's easy. So easy, but yeah.
So we're at what, like back end of 2020, start of 2021. You've got the retainer client, you've got some one-off projects. What was the next bit to kind of, I was going to say scale your business, but what was the next bit to both scale it and sort of cement what you had to make it more? I guess what I'm getting at is a lot of people are going to freelance. They're constantly worried about losing clients. They're constantly on edge. Great month, crap month, great month, crap month. What did you do to try and mitigate that?
So I spent, I don't know, about 7 hours most days just outreaching. I was in like job boards like Cold to Copy, Nothing Held Back, copywriting jobs, which are just absolute witch hunt to be fair. But then I was also outreaching like a madman, just sending out so many different emails just in so many different businesses, just in the sense that hopefully something might bite. And it did. So I think the initial effort paid off massively because some of those people I reached out to initially are still kind of with me now, at least in my network, and reach out every now and then, which is good. So.
It's a big thing I say to people is that having that network, it makes business so much easier. As in, you can lose all your clients, but if you've been doing this a few years and you've got some people you know you can send an email, pick up the phone, and they'll say, yeah, I might not have any business for you myself, but I know so-and-so, let me do an introduction. Yeah, you might not have a gig that day, but give it a few weeks, you've probably got a new gig. So it's that whole thing of, for me, network building and keeping the cold outreach going even when you're full is a really important thing, which I hold my hands up, I need to do more of as well.
Same.
But you get complacent, but I definitely find that like you say, it's a network that keeps you going a lot of the time.
100%, and you can't, it's like I'm a really good person to say this, but you really can't have those bad days and just not do anything. It took me a while, like I was just whining and moaning and just like kind of playing victim as to why I wasn't getting the replies and responses and clients I wanted to. But I was like, you know what, I could be doing this, moaning and doing absolutely nothing, or I could still feel the same way and maybe send out an email or two and potentially get a conversation going.
I think that's a really good message because a lot of people say it's very easy to get down in the dumps to think about, that person's not replied to me. But I also think, well, put yourself in the business owner's shoes. I get a lot of cold pitches, and if they're good, I reply to them. Most of the time, I can't hire you right now, but I always think, do you know, when I get a good cold pitch, I appreciate that. Yeah. So sometimes switching that mindset of I'm going to give someone value, I'm going to brighten their day, that also I think helps you get out of the potential slumps as well. Yeah. And I think the one thing that I always liked about critiquing your copy was there was a lot of different stuff, as in, you did a lot of fitness because as we know, there's a lot of need for fitness copy. A lot of people, it's their background, like we said, but I remember stuff from you that was things like, do you do stuff like Wi-Fi booster type things? And
that guy just vanished off the face of the earth. I just didn't even, I said in the script, said a few words and then it just didn't happen. I think it was a bit dodgy.
Yeah, potentially. So did you sort of have a niche that you went for, or was it like, I'm just going to reach out to anyone that I find interesting and I think would want to hire me?
I think the lure was literally just because of my fitness background, was anything in that kind of area. So gyms, coaches, mentoring, that kind of stuff. Anything in the health space was kind of my pull, just because I kind of knew that area really well. But after a while, it was nice doing different kind of niches as well, because I find that when you're doing the research for different projects that you've never written for, it's quite nice learning that stuff because you come away. I just like learning stuff, like a sponge.
What was the weirdest thing you ever wrote copy for?
That was for a finance guy who I wasn't 100% aligned with his offer. It was okay. It was good, but I probably won't say any more than that.
That's fine. We've all seen the dodgy finance offers, think. Whether the latest FTC crackdowns are going to put more of those people out of business or not.
I had an email today, but like some companies being fined $8 million or something because of that.
Yeah, I mean, the scary thing is they'll probably just absorb it and then keep going on, like, without going off tangent too much, like pharmaceutical companies, like they've got that built into their budgets of we'll just pay out our lawsuits. But Yeah, I think there could be some people who are in for a bit of a surprise with some
100%
lawsuits.
Stepping away from finance now.
So then, next few years, I'm going to ask this kind of knowing the answer. But was it all smooth sailing and no problems, or
No.
what were the ups and downs?
I really wish I had. I think Phil Thompson, he's you'll be watching this, has the screenshots of everything I used to say in Slack channels. So if you want to see the definition of someone who is really just, I don't know what's the word, an arse, I guess. just look at those screenshots. Yeah, it wasn't tough. It wasn't clean sailing. I had some really good months, very happy. Kind of got lost into the comparison trap. Everyone else, especially when you're in a group where people are at different stages and you're like, you're seeing different wins as well, and you're like, well, I just secured this gig that means a lot. It's a lot of money. It feels amazing. But then you see someone else who's done another gig and maybe charged like double or 3 times the amount, and you're like, well, that's now lesser. And then some reason just made me feel worse. And it was just like, it was a lesson I had to learn. It just took me a couple of years to learn it. And thankfully, I'm finally there. so yeah.
What was sort of the, I hesitate to use the word secret, but what was the answer to getting away from that?
Yeah, it was having a really hard look at myself. I think it's I don't know, it's kind of weird. So when my relationship ended, it was like I had to reflect on myself a lot. I think having that time to kind of reflect on who I was as a person and like all the flaws I didn't like, I think that came up on it. And I just don't play the victim anymore. I just don't see the point. It's just, it gets you absolutely nowhere. so yeah, I think that was the turning point. Or one of them anyway. I'm sure there's others.
I mean, that's pretty impressive, I think, because a lot of people just go into themselves when that happens. But I know from sort of, having that self-reflection as well, sometimes when you're in a certain situation for a while, whether it's relationship, whether it's something else, you lose sight of who you are, and that probably sounds a bit woo-woo, or you get slightly different expectations of yourself, or, you can, I don't think it's necessarily you're made to feel bad about yourself, but you can start to have negative thoughts about yourself as well, and sometimes you need that. Again, not saying that everyone watch this who has a bit of self-doubt should suddenly go and ditch their partner,
don't do
but
that.
at the same time, sometimes we need that change up and a bit of a shake up to life to make us think, okay, what are my actual values?
I think as well, like what really helped was like, because it's freelancing at the end of the day, I haven't got multiple different revenue streams anyway. It's just accepting the ebbs and flows of what that's going to be. Like you can't have like, I think it's just expecting that things will get worse before they get better, and then they will get worse. Just up and down essentially. But every time you can deal with it a little bit differently, which is nice. And I think that was another way I kind of got over it as well. Which
So what advice do you have to someone who maybe is skilled, they're doing all right, but they have those periods where they do feel very maybe scarcity minded, or they're worried about stuff, they doubt themselves, they've got the comparisons? Is there anything you'd say, look, here's the thing you need to be doing or focusing on?
I think every time you put your energy into focusing on like what other people are doing or what you don't have, it's all the energy that you could be putting towards doing the thing that you need to do to get what they have. Or at least, for me, it was like thinking I need to be earning like 20 grand a month to be happy. When I hit a few months of like finally getting over the 10k threshold, I was like, I don't feel any different. Like there's like, that's just one cup that's kind of filled. There's other cups as well that need to be filled. And I think if you don't have like the community, the friendships and everything else around it, it's just a number at the end of the day. And I think that helped a lot as well. And I think that,
Yeah. Interesting you say that. I've never met someone who says, oh, I hit 100 grand a year and I felt massively different. I remember the first time I did 100k in the year, and I always used to measure it. I used to look calendar year to calendar year. And I remember it was actually like the April when I gave my stuff to my accountant. He showed me the last year being 100 grand turnover. I was like, right, okay, that's cool. I'm not dismissing that at all. And I'm not saying that wasn't something to be proud of, and that's not something people should shoot for. But you're right. If you've got shit going in your life, it doesn't really matter if you're earning X amount of money, which is an easy thing to say sometimes. But yeah, I think it's also very true. It seems to be very common.
It's a trap. It is a trap, because I used to say I'll be happy when I hit 3k. I hit 3k, and I was like, I don't want to earn more. I'll be happy when I earn X. Still wasn't happy.
Yeah.
Be happy when I had next. No, it's just like what am I chasing? Obviously nothing, but it was just an arbitrary number that I didn't really think about too much that I needed.
So were there any other moments when you did think, actually, this is amazing, I love what I'm doing? As in, was it the first time you, I don't know, maybe booked a particular holiday or sat down in a coffee shop with your laptop? Like, were there any, there might not be, but any moments like that?
Yeah, it's very minimalistic. Like, it's so simple. It was just last week, Wednesday afternoon, I thought, I'm going to take myself to the cinema. I was the only one in there.
Yeah.
It was complete Larry. But I was like, just being able to just close my laptop, grab a coffee, go and get some pick and mix,
Yeah.
go to the cinema. Just not have to worry about clocking in or anything like that. It's just nice and just being able to, it's that freedom. It's one of my biggest values. It's what I love most about it.
Yeah, I'm the same. We used to have fun film Fridays where I'd literally go to
Yeah.
cinema and watch anything, have lunch out with myself, go to
Yeah.
cinema on my own, that kind of thing. Yeah, breaks as well. And sometimes I think the monetary aspect's an interesting one, as in, for me, it's something simple. Like when I go abroad now, I'll get off my flight at the other end. It's like, right, instead of worrying about where to go for a bus, where to go for a train, you just go, right, taxi. It's more expensive, but I can do it. I don't worry about it.
Yeah.
So that's why linking it back to the money thing, for me, it's like, yeah, it's amazing to hit a 10 grand month, 100 grand a year, a $500,000 year, $1 million, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's what does that allow you to do? And squirreling it away in the bank is great for the future. But now, what are you doing with that? What's that a vehicle for?
Makes sense. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
So in terms of back to kind of the career side of things again, any major wins, any major stumbling blocks you had in sort of that few year period once you were starting to earn a bit of money?
Yeah, big wins were working with a really well-known fitness brand in the US. I think I can say it, Barbara Stroggett. They were awesome, and that took me a year of following up,
Wow.
and I didn't give up. I kind of gave up after like 6 months. I thought, sorry, they're not going to reply. And then they did, and it turned out to be one of my highest paying clients at the time, after just a year of just being stubborn and following up. So I was like, happy days, I'm chuffed. But yeah, there was lots of stumbling blocks where clients would leave, my mood would change, then I would just like not follow up. But every time I did a follow up, every time I sent an email, 9 times out of 10 I would get a reply. And I was like, what am I doing? So stop being whatever.
What was your strategy for reaching out to people and following up then?
So I'd wake up, I'll go through Facebook, and it's what you say. Like anyone who's kind of like putting out a Facebook ad, they're obviously spending money, which is good. You go to ads library, and if they've got more than say 2 ads, so like 10 ads or something, and they're all active, then I was like, okay, they're obviously spending money on ads. Try and find the email address of the person who's in charge, and then just send them an email. Nowadays, things have kind of changed in terms of how I outreach, but back then it was just like it was a templated email that I sent, no real value, but yeah, it worked back then.
So do you think it was more of a numbers game back then rather than being personalised?
Yeah, if you could see my inbox, it's ridiculous. You had like 13,000, but not from just the copy, but I was like 13,000 emails, just because I didn't get rid of my emails. so all of that kind of stuff. But it was a ruthless battle of just a numbers game initially. Yeah, definitely.
Do you do anything different with it now? Is it a bit more personalised?
Yeah, everything I do now is personalised. So if I find a client or find someone I like who I'd like to work with, I now like write a Facebook ad or a few Facebook ads. I'll give them some headlines. I'll do a Loom video over the landing page or offer up some suggestions on their emails. And then with my follow-ups as well, they're not just, hey, touching base. That's just like lame. It's now, here's something free that you can use again. I mean, it's just free stuff that they can use.
I think that's important because I will tell people getting clients is a numbers game, but it's also not a numbers game. So if you only contact 2 people a week, it's going to take you a long time to find your first client. If you contact 2,000, but you just send a message saying, I'm a copywriter, would you like to hire me? It's also going to take you a long time to get your first client.
Yeah.
So we have to have that middle ground approach whereby maybe you take 50 to 60% of your time every week for outreach and you do that more mass outreach approach. So there's very little personalization. You can maybe knock out 10 pitches in an hour.
Yeah.
And then maybe you take the other 40 to 50% and you go, okay, maybe I'm only going to contact 2 clients in that time, but I'm going to do, like you said, a Loom video. I'm going to hand write some subject lines for them. I'm going to maybe even buy one of their products. So they've got an ebook for sale. I'm going to buy that, read it, and I'm going to find something in that ebook, and I'm going to send them an email. And I don't know if you've tried this well. I've seen a few people doing things like, hey, my name's Jim, but you might know me as order number 14,133. That's because I bought. Yeah, I think it's just,
That's great.
It's one of those things whereby I'm the same. Someone buys something off me, you've already got a bit of that reciprocity. So if someone says to you, oh, do you want help with this? Even if I don't, it's like, do you know what? I can see this person is investing in themselves. They've also invested in me. That tells me that maybe they don't like me, maybe they're just doing it purely as a strategy. But they probably like something about what I do. And as humans, we're inclined to then reach out to that person because even if we can't pay them money right now, we kind of want to help them. So yeah, I think I love that approach of being a bit more personalised with it as well.
Definitely. I think, especially now, I think loads of business owners get pitched to every day. And I think if you have something different to the table, I don't know, this might be really helpful. So when it comes to like job boards as well, like I said, it can just be a witch hunt. Like you get 40 comments on just one post, and if you're the last one, you're like down at the bottom, they're never going to see you. So I've had a lot of luck whereby I find the person on their Facebook profile, I find their email address, and then I email them. But I might give them something if they are a business owner and they have products or something like an ad. Or I'll just send the exact same message I'll send the messenger on the email.
Yeah.
I don't think many people do that, and I think it's a good way to stand out as well. And it has worked.
I've been surprised talking to people who run agencies and post ads and stuff when they will say to me, we got in contact with you because we had, 100 applicants or whatever, and only 7 of them filled in the form properly, or only 7 of them followed up with us. Only 10 of them actually, we said in your sample piece you need to include the word unicorn, and only 10 people did that. And you're like, people just, generally their standards are low. And I think that's the one thing that, whether you're talking about competing with AI or just more competition for business, if you can show you've got high standards, and if you can go out of your way to give people something before they've even paid you money, that in itself, again, if I put myself in the shoes of a business owner, who do I want? The person who maybe is very good, but is just a bit of an arse, is lazy, doesn't follow instructions, or the person who is maybe not quite as good, but they're going to give me, I hate this phrase, 110%, or they're going to sort of go above and beyond. Then if the deadline is 5 p.m. Thursday, I'm going to get it at 2 p.m. Wednesday, it's going to be that second person.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot to be said for that.
100%.
So recently you reached out, and I won't divulge numbers, I'll let you do that if you want to, but I think you said you'd made a fairly good chunk of change in a not too lengthy period of time. So what was the process for that, and what's that work look like as well? Is it being retainers, different clients?
So that was just 3 clients. One client who I've had now for 4 years, which is quite nice. She keeps coming back to me, which is good. So obviously she likes the work. She's very happy with it. We're going to do another funnel next month as well.
Nice.
So, those big paydays were the whole funnels. So I was doing, which is amazing because when I was in the group with you guys, I would be sending everything to you, like just to get, because I wasn't confident in the copy that I was given. But I think the time away, it was like I was getting so complacent. I'm not going off on the tangent, but I was getting really complacent, and I was like, my copy sucks. And so it was nice to actually get good feedback in the real world. That was funnels. So that was VSLs, thank you pages, set email sequences, bunch of Facebook ads, and SMS text messages and things like that. That was really nice. And I would say it was around like 20k, 21k over the last 2 months, which was, I've never earned that much money in my life. So it was like, it was nice and it was a huge win, but I didn't feel any different. So
yeah, I think it's one of those things. It's nice to tick off and it's nice to say. I mean, I've had it where your first £1,000 in a day from a launch, or your first 50k launch, those kind of stuff. I never want to dismiss it, and I will always think take time to celebrate that, not because of the money, but because of what you've achieved in terms of it's been a successful process and you've clearly worked hard. But it relates back again to what you said, like it doesn't make life any different necessarily. Money makes life a bit easier, but it doesn't increase your happiness, in my opinion.
I think because I always think like so far ahead in the future as well. Like I'm thinking like next year where I'm going to be, like what position I'm going to be in. And so I don't think I just appreciate the now so much. I think I need to get better at that, like so celebrating those small wins. Because like I said, when I landed that first gig with Angeline, I was like 30 or something for an email. I was pumped over the moon. But then it's like you just get complacent and comfortable, and there's more. So you need to. There's got to be a way of like getting rid of that completely. But
when I find it, I shall let you know.
it's got to be a drink. If you drink, you'll be a millionaire.
Yeah. Well, welcome to the club.
Jeez.
So then, with the work you're doing with clients, with the funnel copy, do you offer sort of packages where you go and say, this is what I can do, or is it more a diagnostic approach? And here, I've heard what you need, here's a custom package for you.
Well, I've been fortunate enough, and they know what they want because they're a big enough business to say, look, we need these things. But they do ask me, like, how many emails do I need for the launch? Like, how long should the page be, or the fear sale? So then I can kind of like tune in with that, or what name should be called a lead magnet or something. So there's that. But in terms of the deliverables, I was quite fortunate enough. They already had them, and they already know what they want, which is quite nice.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like it. So in terms of advice for aspiring copywriters, let's say you're speaking to someone who is in your position in 2020, what would you say to them?
Be stubborn. Like, seriously, just it's not going to happen overnight, but if you put in the work, it will pay off. It will. You will send a lot of emails. Chances are you probably won't get many replies, but at the same time, chances are you might get replies. I'd rather to go with the doing part and just not worrying about, if you'll get a client. I think focus on just getting the numbers out there, getting good at the emails, and eventually it will pay off. It has to, especially if your outreach is good. Like, it is a numbers game at the end of the day, but if you're getting quality emails out there, I think it will pay off.
Well, I certainly think this is years ago, when I was first starting personal training, my strategy was, at the time, there were 12,000 people in my town. And let's say 8,000 of those were probably adults who were capable of exercising. My strategy is very much, if every single one of those 8,000 people knows who I am, I don't need many of them to have a really successful business. I might need, I'm trying to do maths in my head now, but I might need 40 people, probably not even that, but that's 0.5% of those 8,000.
Yeah.
If I can get in front of those people with a decent message, that to me, maybe I oversimplified it, but I kind of think it's the same with copy, even more so, because I would say to people, well, how many clients do you need? You need maybe 3, 4, 5 clients. I've had 6 is the most I've ever had, and that was probably 1 too many.
Yeah.
So do you think there are 5 businesses out of I did the numbers the other day, there are like 21.5 million in the US, and there are 4.5 million limited companies in the UK?
Saw that.
Just those 2 companies, 27 million between them. That's only the registered ones. Do you think you could get 3 or 4 of those? And people are like, yeah, probably.
Yeah.
And obviously you need to be good at your craft, but like you said, it's getting in front of people and showing them that you do a good job.
It is, and a big one for me as well was like, it's like you have more time as well than you realise, especially even if you have a full-time job, because if you want to get into the copy game, and you're spending 3-4 hours in front of Netflix, that could be, you could spend 2 hours of that time just doing some outreach and then 2 hours doing Netflix.
Yeah.
That's completely fine. I got up at 5 a.m. every day when I was doing the copy side of things, and then just started outreaching until like 8, and then went to the gym. So that was kind of like my pocket of time, but you do have to find pockets of time of where you are going to do the work. I think Dan Meredith did it really well. He was like 90-minute blocks and do nothing but what you need to do in that 90 minutes, and it helps massively.
It's such a big thing. I remember, again, back to when I was doing PT and I was trying to get into copy, I think for a time, my first session with clients was like 6:30 a.m. I split the laptop by about 4:50 to get an hour of copy done, because I thought, actually, what do I want to do? I want to earn copy. I can't just get rid of clients. And at the moment, that was, for me, too much of a risk. But yeah, you're entirely right. And obviously, I sit here and I think you're the same as a guy who's not married with no kids. It's like, I get that that's a fortunate position to be in from a time management standpoint. Yeah. But I'd also challenge people, look at your screen time on your phone. If your screen time is more than half an hour a day and you don't use your phone for work, that tells me you've probably got a bit of time to go and start building your business.
But also, if that was the case, it wouldn't be like business owners who are family people who have built bloody amazing businesses. Yeah. It's like they've still managed to do it.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's like I used to do. I used to fix and blame a lot, and I think it's a lot of that as well. Just I don't have the time. You do have the time.
Yeah.
You genuinely do.
Yeah, for sure.
You do.
In terms of, we talked about network and stuff, what do you do now to nurture that network and keep in touch with people? Is it a process, or is it more kind of ad hoc, a bit organic?
Yeah, it's more of ad hoc. So I kind of keep in touch with the people I've worked with, like every now and then, like maybe every other month, I'll send them a message just to check in with them, see how they're doing. I did the same with the client who I'm doing the funnels for. I check in like every month or so. Wouldn't get any response until I did. But I think it's just showing your network that you are there. That's kind of what I've been doing. But the outreach side, I think I need to up the game. I've just been really busy at the minute, and I know that goes against the time aspect, but it's just I've kind of gone into the trap of feeling comfortable at the minute, and I'm like, I know there's going to be something next month. So yeah.
Well, I think it's top of mind. That's what I think of, is that it's often that people will be subconsciously thinking, oh, I could do that in my business, or I've not been sending emails as much as I should do recently. If I pop up in their inbox and say, hey, just touching base, how are things, anything you need, let me know.
Yeah.
That's such a simple way to get business. It's not got a super high strike rate, but if you do that at 50 people a month, even if it's got a 1% strike rate, that's a new repeat gig every single month. So it does a lot in terms of, look, just keep on people's radars, really, and just do a good job, be easy to work with, because that's a massive thing people forget.
Yeah, and I think something that like the network thing is so important as well, because initially when you start out, you have zero network unless people kind of aware of what you're doing. You know, you have friends or business owners who want your help, but the clients I've got now, or who are in my network who come back to me, are the same clients who I reached out to, and it took about 8 months of nurturing them for them to get a response and then become in their world. And it's like, now I can kind of reach out to them, they reach out to me, and it's like, it's quite nice. So I've never gone a month without no clients. For about 4 years, I think I've been doing this now. It's
pretty amazing, really, for freelancing.
Which is pretty cool. Like, I'm always get to the end of it. Like, I used to, every time I lose a client, I'll be like, I'm not going to get one again. Get a client in a week or two. Happy days, all good.
Yep, so, 100%. Final question then. What's next for Matt? What's on the agenda?
That's a hard question to answer. It really is. It's like, where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? I don't know. All I know is it's kind of at a crossroads. I know I have the evidence that I can do what I do, which is the marketing side of things and writing and copy. I want to do something with that, but I don't know what it is yet. So I don't know. It might just be coming up, carrying my own offer or something. I don't know. Freelancing for the rest of my life, probably not. I do want to merge out into something, and AI is coming along, which, you know, it's not going to steal the jobs or anything. It's going to make things, I think, better, easier in that respect. So maybe there's something with that. I don't know. I have no idea. I might even go and do co-steering as an activity instructor outdoors, because I love being outdoors, man.
Amazing.
And, it would be a big pay cut, but just being, I think it's in Swanage, and you can just like do kayaking, climbing. It's quite gnarly. I'm happy doing that.
But you've got options, I think. And that's the thing I love about this, is that if you chose to do that, and if after a year you went, that actually isn't for me, or I want to go back to earning some more money, it's like, well, you've got those skills, you've got those connections, it's not difficult.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, like, it's so easy. It's not easy, but it's easy to just send an email and then get a client potentially off the back of it. And it's like, there's always that you can fall back on as well. It's like, even if I ended up doing something else and I wanted to top up my income, well, I can still email. I know how to email businesses. I know how to outreach. I know I can get replies. I've got strings of evidence for it. So it's like, I'm rubbing this table so much. It's like just erasing it. But yeah, that's what.
Love it. Yeah, I think that's a big thing. You've got evidence to prove that you can do it, and evidence builds confidence. So
100%.
I think that's I think that's a really good point to end on. So yeah, appreciate your time, Matt. And yeah, just from a personal standpoint, it's been awesome to see your journey the last few years and to see where you're doing and how well you're doing with it now. So
thank you, man.
Yeah, appreciate your time.
Yeah, it's been awesome.
So cool. That wraps up another episode of the podcast. So huge thanks to Matt. Matt, I guess I should ask, where can people follow you if they want to find out more about you?
It's embarrassing to know my Instagram name. What is it? Fit Pro Marketing? I think it's. I don't even know it.
If they just search what?
Just type in Matt Tickner on Facebook and you'll find me.
There we go. You got it. So yeah. Cheers, Matt. Thank you, guys. Any comments, any questions for Matt, drop them in the comments section below, and I shall forward them on to him. Any comments for me, likewise. I'll try and bang some free resources down in the comments of this as well. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and chat to you very, very soon.